students study or focus on if they want to become a military pilot?
To become a military pilot, the QRs, the qualification is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Career Quest podcast. And today, who we have here is Garima Dixit, who served as a military pilot in the Indian Air Force for 16 years. Hello. Thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Hrehaan. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, we'll start off with the first question.
Okay.
What inspired you to be a pilot?
So, Rihan, my becoming a pilot was quite incidental. I mean, like, it was something which was not planned. Give you a brief background. My father was in the army, so I grew up in the military household, and like a small kid, I probably did not see, how challenging or how adventurous the life is. All I loved was the uniform. I loved the army uniform, and all I wanted to become was an army officer or an armed forces officer. So, just by chance that I joined the Air Force and not the army. And also, you can say almost by chance in the Air Force, there are many branches like the technical branch, the ATC, and the supply chain. Many other branches are there, but I happened to join the flying branch. So it was more of destiny, and thus I became a pilot.
Okay. So, do you still have the uniform?
I still have the uniform, although I'm not authorized to wear it. I'm authorized to wear the medals and the wings. But since I retired from the Air Force in December 2022, so I do not wear the uniform, but I still have it. I've preserved it.
Okay. So, did you have any other options in mind apart from becoming a pilot?
So, Rehan, while growing up, like I said, I wanted to become an army officer. All my life, I wanted to do that. But after 12th, like now we have an option that even the girls can join the National Defense Academy, which is the NDA, where the boys join who want to join military, any of the forces, Army, Air Force, Navy. After 12th, they join the NDA. But during our time, the NDA was not offered to women officers, women cadets, or to the ladies. And thus, we had to wait for graduation. So, I couldn't think of anything else, but because I had to do graduation, I did engineering. So if you say that, if I had any plan B, engineering was my plan B. Otherwise, I always wanted to become an army officer or an Air Force officer, defense officer.
Okay. So, what is the full form of NDA?
NDA is National Defense Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, like apart from those options, why did you leave those and choose this pilot?
So, Rihan, it's a funny story. I was doing engineering because that's what my father at that point in time thought that, he knew that I wanted to join military and NDA was not an option. So he said, you do engineering and we should have a solid plan B in hand. After engineering, you can join the Air Force or the Army, anything, right? So, I I did engineering, and after that, I appeared for the exam. I cleared it and joined the Air Force.
Okay. So, like now you are not a pilot, right?
I'm not flying anymore.
Okay. So, what was your dream job while growing up?
So, while growing up, I wanted to become a military officer. I wanted to wear the uniform, come what may. Although in between, I thought of becoming a doctor in between, and I also wanted to become Miss India or do modeling. I, in fact, wanted to become a cabin crew in an international airline. All this kept coming and going, but then the most important was to become something like my father or those who were around my father, right? Other officers. I was very inspired by them. So that remained my focus mostly.
So what things did you used to do, like to practice maybe?
So I knew that when you have to become a military officer, you should be, physically fit and you should have interest in sports. So, and you should be a certain height and you should be inclined towards maths and science because that's the requirement and you should have something more than 60%. So I knew maths and science is important. So I used to study that. And for sports, I was a basketball player. In fact, that helped me, gain a lot of height and taught me a lot of sportsman spirit. It made me a sportsman, and which I applied in the military also of, not thinking about yourself, but of the whole community, think about your team. And if you're at a position of disadvantage, you should think about winning the match, not, that only I'll do the basket. So that really made me a different person. And I used to swim a lot, that made me more physically fit. I used to challenge myself, like I used to say that today when I'm going for swimming, if I'm going for 1 hour, I'll do 60 lengths. So I used to time myself out. I used to say, okay, it's 1 hour. I've reached at 4 p.m. For swimming pool. I'll come out at 5 and I'll do 60. That means on an average, I'll do 1 minute, one length. So it used to be a task in hand. So all the other kids would probably play or just stand in a corner, but I would have a mission in hand. So all this, a mission oriented, having a goal in mind, that was the picture that I had of the armed forces. And I gradually was preparing all my life, you can say probably around your age, that my interest became very, very deep. And so I started preparing myself like this.
So to prepare, you did like a lot of things, like sports and all.
Yeah, sports and all. I would speak to a lot of officers who were in my father's unit, and I knew that there is something like, SSB, which is the Service Selection Board. So, what is the kind of mindset that they're looking at? What kind of officers do they want? And they're very smart. They catch you like this if you're saying something false. Okay, it's a personality based 5 days that you go through the process. So I worked on that and tried to make my personality, my inner nature, what is required to become a defense officer. So I think I did quite a lot of work on me from the very beginning, around 11, 12 years of age that I can remember, till the actual thing really happened.
Okay. So when did you start preparing for the pilot entrance exam?
So, pilot entrance exam is quite a story. So, my father had filled up the form for me because I was doing engineering at that time. So, the forms used to be filled through a newspaper. Now we have internet and all. During our times, internets were not there. So, the advertisement would come on a newspaper, and he filled up my form. And he said that, okay, your SSB is on this date at Varanasi. And I went there and I gave. And that's when I realized that, my dad probably filled up for the pilot course because they had a exam which is called the pilot aptitude battery test. It's a once in a lifetime exam. So if I appear today and I do not clear, I will never be given the chance to appear again in that exam. So I think I cleared that because one, I was a sportsman. Second, because I used to play a little bit of video games, although my mom used to say, don't play video games, like we all stop you all also. But I think that made my psychomotor skills a little better than others. My hand eye coordination was better. So because of that, I could clear the pilot exam and the SSB I was always preparing for. And I think that's how it happened.
So was the entrance exam hard or medium or easy?
I won't say it was hard, but it wasn't easy either. There were a lot of people who had come in that exam. The first round was the pilot aptitude battery test, and in that, the average would be around 200 people, and around 30 cleared that. So the ratio of people eliminated was a lot, was like 4 5 times. Okay, So that made the thing quite, uh, you had to be a certain level to clear it. And then the SSB happened, and in the SSB, out of 30, on an average, around 4 to 5 cleared. And then, Rehan, we would have medicals, and in that medical is also quite challenging. And average is around 2 to 3 people. So when you start 200 and the final is 2 to 3, it seems very hard. The ratio is very less, right? So it isn't very hard, but it's like very few people get selected.
So, what were your biggest challenges you faced on your journey to becoming a pilot?
So, looking back, I feel the biggest challenge that was there in becoming a military pilot was that during the training, Rehan, like in the civil, you have takeoff and landing or navigation is what you're, preparing while if you're becoming a pilot. But in military, everybody has to do aerobatics, like what the fighters do. And you're judged on that. You're examined. You are marked on that. So we would do barrel rolls, we would do loops, we would be assessed on that. That was part of our exam. And I was a little airsick. I didn't know how to drive a car at that point in time. I would only know scooty, and I had not driven a lot in life. So I didn't know that I was motion sick, you know. Uh, because in the army, my father was always posted at very far off places. So very less driving thing was there. I was all of 19. And when we started doing that, I realized that I was motion sick. So I would puke after every, you know, barrel roll or any aerobatic maneuver. And that made the journey a little more challenging for me than the rest. Thankfully, it happened. And but that was very, if I was not airsick, probably I would have performed even better.
So, like, in the beginning, you were airsick. Like, after when you like got a bit used to it, did you then feel airsick?
No, Rihan, actually, beginning I was very airsick. And then when I moved to helicopters, I just did not feel airsick because one, aerobatics are not done on helicopters. Second, it is very close to ground. Third, the initial aircraft that we are supposed to fly for the first 6 months, it used to give a very strange kind of fumes, and that fumes used to go into my head, and something would happen. That didn't happen when I moved to helicopters after 6 months, and that made my life a lot easier. So first 6 months were quite challenging. After that, in helicopters, things became very normal because I never felt motion sick. Or maybe my body get got accustomed to. And also there is a way in which if you're some of us were air sick, and that could be the one of the most fittest boys also. Probably somebody who's got a lot of abs and he's very fit. He may also have air sickness. Anyone can have air sickness or motion sickness. So they would tell us that you have to start rotating. So like you do, put your hands like this around your body and keep rotating so that your mind gets tuned to that rotation. You know, although you would puke on ground also, but few of us who had this issue, we were made to do something like this, and then the body got used to of doing this.
Okay. So, can you walk us through a typical day in your life as a pilot?
So, Rehan, typical day would start very early on because helicopters usually fly in the hills, okay, or where there are no runways. So the day would start very early, and for takeoff at an early time, maybe 6, 7 is what used to be usual takeoff time. The briefing would be always 1 hour before. And so the timing would be the day would start very early, say 4:30 in the morning, you would get up, 4:30 you would get up, get ready, go to squadron, take the briefing, see your aircraft, take off. But then the best part was the day would end also very early. So you would do your sortie, you would come back, and then you would do your normal routine, unit work, and after that, maybe you may have night flying, and in the military, it's not only the flying, but also you should be trained on firing. So we would have um, routine firing on different kind of say, pistol or on INSAs, rifles. We would do that. And then running tests were part and parcel of our life. We would keep doing running and all fitness things are part and parcel of the military life. So usual day, Monday to Friday would be like this. Saturday would be a little more relaxed because that day the flying won't happen. And Sunday used to be absolutely off for us. So that used to be a normal day. And plus, because we were pilots, we would fly from one place to another. We would go and the place is not known. So the routine would be dynamic and would keep changing. More or less would remain similar, but nothing fixed as such.
Okay. So, all these years of flying, has there ever been an emergency situation while flying?
Uh, Hrehaan, actually, since I flew a helicopter, which was a single engine helicopter, we were always on our toes, and the helicopters usually during our times, I'm not sure right now, but never had autopilot as well. So you used to be always on the controls, and because we fly very close to the ground, there could be obstructions, there could be hills around, there could be high tension cables, so or the birds as well, other aircraft as well, right? So we have to be absolutely in focused while we are flying. So incidences and accidents are part and parcel of the life. And the one I can remember is which is called the hydraulic failure. We call the servo failure. The controls, the servos make the controls very easy for human beings to handle. Otherwise, it's a lot of load, right? So suddenly the servos got failed, the hydraulics got failed, and we are actually trained for that. Every day we revise our emergencies and we would do the simulators. It became very hard, and then luckily it happened very close to the airfield. So we quickly took over the aircraft and landed it very close to our base. But the aircraft became very heavy. So both the pilots came on control, and we had to be more cautious because it's a hydraulic failure. There could be any oil leak or any other emergency associated with it. So many, but this probably was something that really shook me that, okay, yes, I have a hydraulic failure right now.
So, your one DRD had like one hydraulic failure?
Yeah, only one. But I remember once, like we were flying in the hills, and our door flew off. The doors are closed, right, of the helicopter. Maybe the pressure difference was such that the door got opened, and the hinge got separated. It just flew off. So we were without the door, and the door had fallen down. So we made a short circuit. The beauty of the helicopter is it can land anywhere. So we landed, we picked it up, and we saw it was broken too. So we kept it behind, and then we landed at the airfield, and we again checked what happened, how it happened. Also, there was a full inquiry that did we check before taking off that there is a door which probably had a malfunction. So all this keeps happening, small emergencies, big emergencies, um, part and parcel of life.
Were you happy being a pilot?
I was very happy being a pilot. It gave me a sense of pride. And the best part used to be whenever the passengers would come in, would see, okay, because we would be in helmet and all. If they would see there is a lady pilot, they would be so happy. So it used to be that pride used to come, okay, that happiness used to come that, okay, there are people who are very happy to see a lady pilot flying you. So I was very happy. It was something that I had not even dreamt of becoming a pilot, and I was the first pilot in my family. So I was very happy.
So, what was your best memory from your flying career?
So my best memory was in flying in the hills. So I remember we were flying in a sector which is in Uttarakhand, and there is a place called Joshimath. It's beautiful. It's close to Badrinath and Kedarnath Valley. Okay, where these are people go for prayers there. It's a pilgrimage. Okay, and difficult to reach, difficult terrain, but we had gone there for some work, operational work. So I remember I had not, I was all of 21, 22. I had not heard of Kedarnath. Now there is a movie also. So at that point in time, I was not aware what is Kedarnath. I just knew that we are going to a helipad called Kedarnath. So I did all the mission planning and everything. And I was flying in the valley, and there were senior officers with me on board. And there was a turn right. So we turned right in the valley, and I was very fixated on showing a proper landing to my co-pilot, who was my instructor, supervisor, and there were senior officers behind me. So I was fixated to the helipad, and I landed there. And when you land, you do a sit down in the helicopter, and because the controls are very loose right now, you now tighten the controls. Okay, after landing. So I was fixated even then. Otherwise, you're not supposed to be. You should be situationally aware. You should be situationally aware of your surroundings. But somehow, probably, I was very, just focused on the helipad and good landing. And the moment I looked up, you know, I saw the Kedarnath temple. And I said, my God, where have I come? And imagine, I didn't even know about Kedarnath. And I saw the Kedarnath temple, and I felt this is such a beautiful place. And after I came back home, I told this experience to my family. And then my Nani told me that she and my Nanaji had gone to Kedarnath, and how beautiful was this. And then, there were this Kedarnath floods, which again my unit operated. And there's a movie also on Kedarnath. So all this happened, which my son has also seen. Now I feel how silly of me that I didn't know, but how wonderful places, because of flying, we could go. In fact, one more memory is coming into our mind. We went to Gangotri, the place from where the Ganga actually originates. So I didn't know that Ganga originates from there, right? So we flew to the very beautiful valley, all snow covered, and we reached a place. And the person who was next to me, he was again a very senior officer, and he said, this is where the Ganga originates. And suddenly my perspective changed of the place. Otherwise, I'm just focusing on my machine, on my flying, that if there is any emergency, I have to take all the remedial actions. But that's when I realized, wow, how many people can reach this place, Gangotri, where the Ganga actually originates. So that these are the very beautiful experiences of my flying career.
So, what was your favorite destination to fly to?
My favorite destination were the hills. Anywhere in the hills, if we would go, and such far off places we would go to, probably somewhere very close to the China border, where, people are not there around. And then the army post is there. We're just on the China border, or there would be ITBP post, and we would be flying them, or we would be carrying someone who's probably fallen sick at a very high altitude, some army officer or some army jawan, and we would be getting them, as an air ambulance. We would serve as an air ambulance. So all this made the experience very wonderful.
So, what is your favorite animal?
So my favorite animal, ironically, I mean, I don't know, it's a coincidental that I always love birds. And as a pilot, also, you wear a bird, or no, you wear a wing. So we had parrots at our place growing up, and we would talk to them, and they would imitate us and speak. Although my mom was not in favor of keeping animals like that. So one day we came back from school, and we asked Mama that, where are the parrots? And she said, I just opened the cage and let them go. So that was something, that let them be in their natural habitat. So I'm I'm not of more of a dog or a cat person. I'm more of, parrots or maybe fishes, that kind of a person.
Why do you like parrots so much?
Because they imitate you. It's so nice. They're like little kids, how if you would start speaking to a small child, you will tell them something to say. They would imitate anything and everything that you're speaking. So they're very cute and adorable that way.
Okay, so how do you balance personal life and professional life?
So, balance, I absolutely believe after a certain point in life more. But to young people, I would definitely say that balance is the key of life. Wherever you are, if you're, 100% present. So even if you're spending time with your family for like 1 hour a day, but you're like 100% present with them. You're like talking to them, you're like listening to them. That way, that for that, I mean, your family is happy with that also. So that way you can balance. So when you're in your work, put your 100% there. When you're with your family, put your 100% there. Put your 100% for yourself also. Give self your some time to yourself for your reading, for your writing, your fitness, so that you also feel happy as a person. So doing everything in moderation is what keeps the balance there.
So, what made you decide to move from being a pilot to a corporate role?
So, Rehan, I realized that, after my son was born, so while I was a student, um, I I would always find my mother uh, receiving us, every time I would come back from school, she would always be there. And I realized that school life is not easy. It's full of challenges. You're learning so many things, and you're learning how to adjust with so many people, your age bracket, bigger, younger teachers. It's not an easy life. But when you have your mother home and she smiles and she says, "Okay, how was your day?" and you can share things with her, it keeps the life, you feel very happy. So when my son was born, I wanted to do something similar for him. And I realized that although I really love this profession, I may not be able to do that with my son. So I put that on break and I said, okay, fine, I'll pick up something which is on ground and I can give more time to my son and probably make way of if I'm not able to receive him almost every day also, but maybe 3 times in a week I'm able to do that. That's also good enough. So that's the balance. So that's when I decided, okay, fine, I'll move away from this because this is also something that I really want to do.
Okay, so do you miss flying today?
Not much actually, because I keep flying as a passenger, and I travel. I remember the days, and maybe because so many hours I've flown, it's like a memory into my brain. I've like, okay, I've lived it enough, and it's always an option. If tomorrow I feel okay, I want to go back to flying, I've kept that door open for me. I can go back. So as of now, I'm not missing it. I'm totally enjoying what I'm doing.
So, which skills from being a pilot help you the most in your corporate job or personal life?
So, you know what happens when you're a pilot? Whenever you're planning a mission, you always start with the end in mind. Okay, what is the outcome? So you start with, okay, I'm going to take off from here and I'm going to land here, right? And now you work backwards. And that makes life very easy. Now you know the timings, where you will be, how you will be. So in corporate also, I like to adopt that only, um, and I'm tuned to that in my personal life as well, keeping the end goal in mind. Okay, what am I wanting to achieve out of it? So when you have the end goal in mind, you're able to plan your day accordingly, or you plan your 3 months, 6 months accordingly. So I think that planning, that okay, in flight also, not everything will go as per planned. The winds would be there, sometimes the weight would be extra, or the aircraft will have an emergency, or the ATC would ask you to divert from the path that you decided. Something or the other may happen, but more or less you should know that what you are going to do. So when you plan, you execute as well. So that's something that I learned from my flying career.
So, what does success mean to you today?
I think success, what it really means to me is, being satisfied. How's your experience in the present moment? Success is not, that's what I feel. Our life is not played on live television for anyone else to watch. Our life is for us to experience it, right? To experience it in the most beautiful way. So we should always try that whatever is the situation, maybe good, maybe little challenging, maybe not of our interest or our liking, but how is the experience of it? How is it reaching you? How are you experiencing it? I think that is success. If you're able to experience, say, around 85% to 90%, you're like happy within. whatever is happening outside, fine. I have acceptance. The moment you have acceptance and you feel that, okay, my experience is going fine, I think that's success.
So, what should students study or focus on if they want to become a military pilot?
So, Rehan, the thing is that in to become a military pilot, the QRs, the qualification is required is that you should be a PCM. That means physics, chemistry, maths in 12th till 12th you should have at least, and you should have an aggregate of more than 60% in all the three subjects. So that means the average should be more than 60 in all the three subjects. So if you want to become a military pilot, and because when you're flying also, there are a lot of physics concepts, there are a lot of maths calculations that happen, mental maths calculations that happen in your mind, and all, and you're calculating beforehand also. So if you want to become a pilot, it would be prudent that you focus on your PCM. You take PCM after 10th, and you focus on these three subjects. They're very essential. Yeah.
So, what mistakes should young people avoid while choosing or changing a career?
I think the mistake they should avoid is listening to others, or trying to fulfill someone else's dream. You should listen to your heart, because ultimately this is your life. And you should be allowed to make mistakes also, because see, you would do something, you may not like it. Realizing that I'm not liking what I'm doing and I'm changing the path. It's not a failure. Doing what you like to do. Because when you like something, you'll put 100%, into it. So I think the you should not listen to others. You should listen to what your heart says and do that. Make mistakes, learn from that. It's okay. So I think young people should not try to get influenced by others, but follow their own heart.
Okay, so finally, you can say any inspirational words or messages for students and young dreamers out there.
So, my message to young dreamers would be to dream, right? And to always become a better version of themselves. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Um, see, failure and success is part of life. But you should always think that my failures are my learnings. I'm learning from that. So there are only two options. Either I win or I learn. There is no failure in life. So don't get disheartened by your failures and never give up. Always plan next day how I can improve. Today, if you could not meet your goals or your whatever you wanted to fulfill today, if you couldn't meet those goals, it's okay. You have another day. Start afresh, and try to do better than what you were yesterday. Slowly, slowly, incremental growth, and you will see great results in life. And be happy and live your life to the fullest. You all are living in a very beautiful time of technology, of information being readily available. So you should enjoy this time and make full of use of it.
Okay, so thank you for coming in this podcast. Hope you
Thank
enjoyed.
you so much. I totally enjoy it. Thank you so much. Very lovely questions.
So, hope you guys learned a lot from this podcast, and there's more learning in the whole journey of my podcast channel. So, bye.